Welcome to the Bible Seminary podcast. On today's episode, we continue our marriage, ministry, and mission series and speak to Kevin and Yvette Alvarez. Kevin is a TBS alum and pastor at Long Point Baptist Church in Houston. Yvette is a kindergarten teacher and a current TBS student. Let's join our hosts, Blake Quimby and Karen Coolidge, as we hear from this ministry couple.
I was born here in Houston, Texas, but my parents divorced when I was in about the third grade. So we did a lot of moving around. So for a little while, I actually lived on the border town of Mexico. And I spent quite a few summers there with my grandparents. And so I'm Mexican American. So a little bit of time we lived in Mexico, and it's been a journey. It's been interesting.
Mm-hmm. And Kevin, where were you raised?
In the small little village of Fleet, Texas. So if you are going towards Neatville and you blink, you just missed it. So that's how small it is, right off of 36 in Rosenberg. So right there, lived my whole life there. We hopped around different cities, Richmond, Rosenberg. We're in Katy now. So yeah, born and raised here in this area though.
How did you guys meet?
So my wife and I, we're all the way back from 15 years old. So we're ninth grade. So that's maybe middle school, high school, sweethearts, I guess you could say. But the funny thing is we actually had never even met in person. We actually met through a mutual friend. So if you're listening, you guys, you know who you are. And so we just started talking, but we met so far back that we didn't have, we have like FaceTime now and email and text where if I wanted to send her a message, I can do it within seconds. Well, we didn't have that. She lived in Houston. I lived in Fleet. It was long distance. It cost about $10 a minute to do, so I couldn't talk to her. So we actually wrote letters back and forth. And so when I wanted a response, I'd have to wait, 3-4 days to hear my response. And but eventually, I can say this. I knew that when I first met my wife that I was going to marry her. I wasn't ready to settle down, so we parted our ways. And I do want to tell the story real quick, and I'll sum it up in like 30 seconds. But I had this dream. So I was about 20 years old. I hadn't seen my wife in years now. And I remember thinking like I knew I was supposed to marry this woman. Where is she at? Hadn't heard from her. Went to sleep. And while I was sleeping, I had a dream. I was talking to her brother. And I was asking like, Ivan, where's your sister? Where's your sister? And all I remember was he gave me the same digit, which was 8, bunch of 8s. So I'm like, I don't know what that means. Wake up. In real life, obviously go to work, and I look up in a phone book because we had phone books back in the day, right? And I knew she worked at a clinic. And so I looked in the yellow pages for clinics, and there was a company I saw, and it had a bunch of 8s in there. So I said, why not? Let me call. I call, ask her, she answers. Now we're here, married after 3 kids and all the good stuff. Yes.
So, just real quickly, if each of you could just share your testimony.
Like I said, we lived in Mexico, Mexican American, so I was raised Catholic, and had no idea what it meant to be a Christian. And so they emphasized a lot of works. And so in my mind, I thought there's just no way that I could ever be good enough to get to heaven. So kind of put God on the back burner. And then we were going through just some marital problems. We were really young in our faith, with our kids, and we just did everything backwards. And so I saw this is going to sound terrible, but I saw like the televangelist, and he was talking about having a relationship with Christ, and I had no idea what that meant, and it intrigued me because I thought, I've never heard of a relationship with Christ, never heard of it spoken that way. And so that was kind of like the peak of my interest of wanting to go and find out what this relationship was, because, we were always taught that there was always a middleman. So I could never come to Christ, myself. And so even if I did, I thought, well, he's not going to want someone like me. Mm-hmm. So from there, we just started going to church, and it's been a ride. It's been a journey.
Yvette was mentioning earlier, very young in our faith, or very young in our relationship, meeting at 15 years old, pretty much getting married right at 20. we're having 3 kids pretty much back to back to back. So we're young parents at 23, 24. So having a couple of kids already. And so when you're young like that, and we didn't really have any kind of education other than your high school diploma, we're having to start off at just like, I was working at the grocery store and produce department. So finances was a big thing. Like, we struggled with finances, and it became so much of a struggle within us that we wind up separating. We just separated for a time, and like, I remember her telling me, like, you need to get your act together. You're the provider of this house, and you need to figure something out. And so there was a time where I was just kind of sitting there and had my old Catholic Bible. I mean, it'd been sitting there on the shelf, never really used it. And it was highlighted so many times. And it's funny to see how many times I actually read it, but never actually took it in. And so many times I would sit there just reading my Bible, and really just God took a hold of me and spoke to me and said, you need to go back and reconcile with your wife and work out your marriage. And so I remember going back to my wife, working, along. And that's why she said we started attending church, and both of us getting saved, both of us getting baptized. Actually, she got baptized with,
when I was pregnant.
With our second daughter. Yeah, I remember that.
Wow.
Third daughter. Okay. See, there's kids everywhere, I'm telling you. And so we did that and got baptized, and got called to ministry. So again, like she said, it's been a crazy ride. So
tell us about your call to ministry. What came first, the Bible seminary or your call to ministry? And tell us your journey.
Yeah, it was the call to ministry. Yeah, right then and there. I remember going to a men's retreat. So we're attending a church. I was at a men's retreat, and at the end, there's always, when you're there 2-3 days, it's that time where you go outside, you reflect about everything. And I remember sitting under a tree and just feeling this warmness, and I just started bawling. I mean, and you can ask my wife, I'm probably one of the few people that hardly ever cry. And I couldn't stop crying for some reason, and just felt God just speaking to me saying, I'm going to call you into ministry. And I remember going back to my house, back to not just with my wife, but my family, and telling them, guess what? Not only did I get saved, but I'm also going to be into ministry. And they're like, what the heck is wrong with this guy? And so that's, like you said, it's been up and down with our family, but my mom got saved recently, and with both of our families, siblings and parents, we just see that God is working in their lives and that they're more open. I mean, they ask us to pray now in our family when we go eat at meals, and when somebody's sick, things like that. So keep praying. I mean, God's still working. So he's alive and well, and moves in people's lives. Yeah. There was this a flyer that came in the mail. So I had finished my bachelor's, and just felt like God was saying, continue your education. I'm like, well, where do I go? I need a sign, God, is what I really said. I need a sign. There is something at the Bible seminary they did. I guess it was a program or a flyer, but on the flyer, I kid you not, it said, you looking for a sign? Here's your sign. Ask the Bible seminary. I kid you not. That's exactly what the flyer, the postcard said. And I was like, yeah, I got my sign. Because that's literally what the postcard said. And so there you go. And I called, and I remember meeting or talking to Dr. Lewis on the phone, and got hooked right then and there.
The rest is history. Yeah.
Can you guys tell us about your kiddos? Tell us about your girls.
Okay, so we always get the shock of, I guess they're expecting us to have little kids, but like I said, we did everything backwards. So when they freak out a little bit when I say our oldest is 20, she's actually just turning 20 in May, so birthday quarantine. So she is in college right now, and she's a little bummed because everything's been switched over to online, but she's just trying to figure out what she really wants to do. She's like, Mom, figuring out what you want to do with the rest of your life is a big deal. And so we're trying to encourage her and keep walking alongside her. Our middle daughter, Gabriella, she just turned 18, and she is actually going to be leaving us pretty soon in August, hopefully, if all goes well. She is going to go to Minnesota. She is going to attend Bethany Global University, and she's trying to pursue a degree in missions. Sorry, I forgot. So she's going to try and do, so we're really excited for her. In about 2 years or so, she'll be launched out into either, I think she said Paris, what were the other ones?
Missionary trip in Paris, really?
Yeah, well, they need Jesus too. But there's different locations. So they'll eventually decide which one she's best suited for. And then our baby of the family is actually Madison. She'll be turning 13. So we're almost at the end of the teenage years. She'll be turning 13. And so she's in middle school. She is actually the first year that she's being homeschooled and attending a Christian private school. So it's been quite a year. It's been quite a year. And then we recently, within that year, our newest addition has been our pet dog, Max. So that's been, we don't have enough time and I don't want to share the pictures, but
she'll roll out her phone.
No,
She's got
we want
her phone
a picture. Kevin's face is saying it all. We need a picture and we need a story about Max.
He's like right here. He's laying on the floor right now. Of course you can't see him, but she's going to find a picture of him. Yes.
He's my pride and joy. And everybody tells me, why do you love this dog so much? I'm like, I don't know. He's beautiful. I'm like, what is not to love about him?
Is that a German Shepherd?
No, he's actually a husky.
A husky.
Siberian husky.
A Siberian husky. He makes me run. So he is, I mean, I keep telling him, what's not to love about this guy?
Seriously. Oh, beautiful. So y'all have a full house right now, especially with the pandemic. How are you balancing ministry and teaching and life and kids and adult problems and issues that they're bringing in?
Let's say we're doing awesome. No, I'd be lying if I said that because
we are rock.
Let's be true. Yeah, we rock. No, I mean, one thing Yvette and I always talk about with people is we never had mentors in our lives. We never had anyone to pull us aside and say, this is how you do life, this is how you do marriage, kids, ministry, all that. Like we never did. And, we're having to go to seminary, read books and seminars and things like that. So yeah, it was a struggle at first because I'm the one that goes all the time. And so again, I'm working out of my portable garage. That's my office right now. And, Yvette's in here doing her teaching stuff. The kids are doing, their online stuff. And so we're having to balance it out. And I mean, especially the first couple of weeks, so we'd be like, it is hard. I'd be lying if we said it was easy. It'd be hard. And so we had to sit down and have conversations of what's the plan going to be. And I think there's a difference in planning and preparation because our plans can change all the time, but at least being prepared for that. That's what we've been trying to do is prepare ourselves because we don't know how long this is going to last and things like that. So we've had our ups and downs, definitely. Yeah.
And Kevin, is your church doing online services right now?
We've been doing, I think it's been our 7th week. So Yvette does women's ministry there too. So yeah, we started off the first couple of weeks doing live within like other staff members' houses. And then eventually as it got worse or we were being quarantined inside, we started doing, within our own home. So we've been doing it in our kitchen, living room, wherever we can. So yeah, we're doing everything live right now.
And Yvette, Kevin said you're leading the women's ministry there, so y'all are probably having Zoom meetings and studies together. Yeah.
Yes, we were really excited because we had started the spiritual disciplines. And so the last time that we were talking, I told him, well, this is a great time to try the fasting. It'll be a challenge now because you're at home, but you also have, the opportunity to go out and do different things that you haven't done before and really meditate on the word. So it's been a challenge. I know that our ladies are really wanting, we thrive on community and we had built up our little Bible study group. And so it does. We get really frustrated because we can't meet. But seeing everybody on Zoom at least gives us a little bit of normalcy.
I love the Bible Seminary because of the focus on the inerrant Word of God.
At this moment on the campus of the Bible Seminary, we are cultivating biblical leaders that are rooted in the Word.
I'm a novice when it comes to teaching the Word of God. So I'm excited to learn and develop this craft and ultimately brings God all of the glory and honor.
God led me here. It's a great group of believers. I get to study what I'm most passionate about, and that's archaeology.
I came to the Bible Seminary out of a desire to know the Bible, really desired solid trustworthy leadership that would foster my growth as a believer, but also as a potential minister to others in the future. And I found that at the Bible Seminary.
Whether you're a ministry leader, college or high school student, pastor, or simply have a desire to learn the Word of God, there's room for you at the Bible Seminary. Let's rejoin the conversation.
As you guys are pastoring, what have you found that has worked in this time? Because there's many. Maybe some might need to hear some encouragement today. What has really worked with your body and staying connected with them, not just online, but is there anything else that you can maybe speak to that has really helped you guys move forward as a church during this unique time?
One thing we started this past Sunday, because I felt like the online thing was going to be a challenge at first. I mean, it seemed like at first everyone was really excited about it because it's something new. And then again, we've been doing this, 7 or 8 weeks. After a while, it becomes like, oh gosh, boring. Especially when you can, if you're doing live videos and they can watch it at 8 o'clock at night, that evening, like why even get up and watch it in the morning? And so this past Sunday, we started something called a virtual Greek time, because we're still old fashioned. We still have the Greek time where you say hi to one another, and we're a smaller church. So this past Sunday we did through a Zoom call where we all got to get together and just kind of talk before service came on. And so we were just talking, asking questions. How's everyone doing? And so we got to see one another. So I think that was the first time doing it, but at least again, the interaction. I think they miss the interaction, because when we're doing live, all I'm seeing is that little dot right there, on the computer or the phone. And of course they can comment along, but I think that was real encouragement, was the virtual greeting time, I guess you could say, for us.
That's a great idea.
Yeah.
For me, I know it's been a really great time to just kind of reflect and just really appreciate the people. You take it for granted. It's like a constant thing. You don't think twice about it. So something like this really comes along and kind of shakes up your whole world. And so I've really tried to meditate more on and just be still. And so the Lord has been really good about telling me how to encourage people. So I've been writing notes, and it's really great, because I think coming home after, some of our members are actually still going to work. So coming home and getting a letter or a card saying, hey, I'm praying for you. I thought this psalm for you. It makes a difference. And they'll text. They're like, thank you so much for that encouragement. I needed it. And the other thing that we've been doing is just trying to go and drop off like small gifts. We've dropped off like Easter baskets for the kiddos. We've dropped off like coloring books for the kids. We've our older seniors, we've dropped off devotionals, just things to keep encouraging them, and just so that they know that we're still thinking about them. We check up on them. I try and call the ladies, hey, how's it going? And so it's been a really nice, for me, slower pace to not be go, 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 and just really appreciate who they are.
Awesome.
Something else I wonder too is, and I'm as guilty as everybody, but just the hectic pace of life, of families, especially in our area of Katy. And I've talked to a few of my neighbors with little ones who are saying they're not going to go back to all these different after school activities and all these different things piled on, that they are enjoying just the simplicity of their lives right now, and the quality family time that they're having to experience, but they're just enjoying it. So it's going to be interesting to see if families continue that.
How many times do we always say, man, if I just had a day off?
Yeah.
And if I, how many times do I ask people to read a chapter and they say, well, my life is too busy. But, be careful what you post, because your pastor's watching, but you're posting, hey, I just watched the whole season of blah, blah, blah. And that's like 32 hours, and you can't read 32 lines in the Bible. We're just hoping that, this thing continues to go, because even myself, like just the other day, I sat outside from like 8 to 10 for like 2 hours, just sitting out there doing nothing. And for me, that is big. Just to sit out there. And so that's the hope, that this is not just something that we're doing because we're bored, but like you were saying, Blake, going back to the basics of what pastoral work should be, is calling and interacting with our people, that don't just do it now, But I even had one of my seniors say, "I'm glad you're calling, Pastor Kevin, but I'm hoping that once we get back, you don't stop calling me." Said, okay, well, she called me out on it, so that's good. And so that's what we're hoping, to continue those. And that this will strengthen our community better.
Even with our girls, our oldest, she was going, like I said, she's in college, she was working. So, and her schedule is so different from ours that there were times where I wouldn't see her for 2 or 3 days. I know she was here in the house, but, didn't get a chance to catch up with her. So I can't remember what we were talking about or how we got into the conversation, but she said, I hate to say it, but I kind of like this quarantine thing. She's like, I am just loving all the attention that you guys are giving me, and I get to see you and I get to talk to you, and we're playing games. She said, I'm good. so it's been great. I mean, and that speaks, that really, just melted my heart, because she's 20. How many 20-year-olds, want to spend time with their family?
Blesses your mama's heart, huh?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Does.
Yeah.
I'm like, I'm doing something right.
I am a fan of your videos.
One of the 18 people again that I say that like my
I'm
video.
telling you, the last one you did about your corona hair and the way that you tie
This
it.
took a lot of gel to kind of keep still, but you can see it hangs down a little bit.
You have a gift for taking the everyday struggles that everybody's dealing with and then pointing straight to the Lord and tying in scripture and teaching in just a short segment of time. And that's a gift that you have. So talk to us a little bit about that. How do you get your ideas, and how do you put those together? That's a ministry.
They really just drop into me. It's like you said, everyday life. So it can't be where I'm sitting there looking for specific titles or subjects. I have my phone. Everyone has their phone and stuff. And so whenever an idea or something happens, I will just put it in my phone and my notes. And, it really all started just as an opportunity of outreaching to other people, because, we're a small church, you're reaching 50, 60 people a week, but through social media, you can reach hundreds and thousands of people. And so just these ideas will just drop. And it's just amazing to see how people will react to these things. Here's some encouragement I want to share, because this is something I struggled with before doing these videos. Is I always wanted to be the serious pastor. Like, I wanted to be the pastor where I went up there when I spoke, people were in tears because they just felt so convicted. And I wanted to be like the Tony Evans and the Matt Chandler and these big guys like that. And I struggled a lot with being the funny pastor. Now, be careful with saying funny pastor, because like you said, Karen, that I always try to make sure that the message I'm speaking in my 2-minute, 3-minute videos always points back to Christ, the gospel, and scripture as well.
Every time.
So it was really, really hard for me to be like, oh, they're going to think this guy's just being silly. He's an embarrassment to Christianity. And I finally had to say, I don't care. Like, if you don't like it, don't watch it, don't subscribe it, watch somebody else. And I had, a couple of mentors, even Paul Helbig, Paul Helbig. And he might have to say, look, Kevin, God has given you this gift and use it. And whether it's 2 people watch it or 2,000 people watch it, like, this is just a great way to reach other people. So I'll just keep doing them as long as God puts these little ideas in my head. And I'll have one later this week, so we'll see what that's.
Good. Keep them coming. Keep them coming. First of all, everybody needs to laugh, especially right now, and everybody needs to be reminded who is in control. And so you bring all of that, and you wrap it up in a beautiful little package. So Kevin, before you were called into ministry, did you have any other aspirations?
Yeah, I used to sing, actually.
You did?
Yeah, I did. Yeah, who's feeding these things? Yeah, I actually did. I think it helped out a lot. So I was 15 years old, and when Astroworld was open back in the day here in Houston, the story was, I went with my cousin, and he challenged me to go into one of these little booths where you can sing, where you put the headphones on and they play a karaoke song and you sing it. And I sang Across My Heart, George Strait. We're talking about George Strait earlier, off camera, right? And I sang the song, and the guy was like, wow, this is really good, the guy that was recording it. And he gave me the cassette, because we had cassettes back in the day. And I just started going from there. I did it for about 10 years. I mean, I sang country music, Spanish music. But I think God used that for me to be able to speak in front of people, I think to kind of break out of my shell. So it was good. So I don't really sing much other than the shower, the car, the garage maybe, or in my head, but yeah, it's still there.
So when I first married him, I thought it was the big joke that I was going to be sitting next to, who was it?
Brad Paisley.
And so I thought, good, I scored a good one, right? And then somehow I'm like, how did I end up in a pew watching you preach? As I ended up a pastor's wife. I don't think this was in the job description when I took it, but God is just really funny. So
Kevin, can you sing maybe a chorus of that song for us today?
I crossed my heart. Oh gosh, let's see. Let's see if I remember the song. I crossed my heart and promised to give all I've got to give to make all your dreams come true. There you go. In all the world, you'll never find. There you go, something like that. Yeah. Thank you, guys.
Oh, thank you.
Donations will be taken at the end of the video.
That is such a good reminder to people too, who maybe are in a place in life of, I don't know what's next. I don't know what steps to take next. And maybe God's saying, just do the next logical thing. Just do what I have placed in front of you. And God placed Astroworld and that booth in front of you, and use that as stepping stones to get you to where you are now. And who knows where you are now is a stepping stone to what God has next. And so, see, Kevin, you're teaching us. You keep teaching us.
It's a good thing. It's a good reminder. Going back to the singing, that's part of the testimony was I gave myself 10 years to sing. And I pursued it with all my heart. I really believe that I felt like God had given me that gift to sing. But I actually got in a car accident coming home from Austin, and I broke my nose. And because I broke my nose, I wasn't able to sing anymore. And so that, again, is what kind of fed into, like, my wife's like, all right, look, you were going to sing. You were going to be a big star. That ain't going to happen now because your nose is broken and all that connection broke away. So that's where eventually started leading to, what are you going to do with your life? We're struggling financially. We've got kids. And so that was part of the testimony. God, he used some of that, and then he ripped that away. And I'd say thank you, God, for that, because we joking all the time with our kids. My kids are like, how come you couldn't be like one of the Kardashians or someone like that? I'm like, no, because I would probably be wrapped up in drugs and alcohol and things like that. And I told my kids, I wouldn't see your mom, and I wouldn't see even you kids. So God used that, and I'm grateful for that, because I think I would have went down a very dark road that would have been a very good TV probably movie too, but it would have been a bad one.
Again, starring Kevin Alvarez.
Or Brad Pitt maybe, right?
Yeah. So to people listening today who might be struggling, where is God amid this COVID-19 pandemic? What would y'all say to encourage them? Where is God?
Well, I wanted to encourage, just kind of piggybacking on what he was saying. Well, he was struggling with, getting something ripped away that you're really working towards. When he came home and told me, I'm going to be a pastor and I really want to pursue ministry. And I was like, wait a minute, we said you were going this way. I had a lot of baggage, like I said, I steered just clear away from God, went the whole other different direction. And I remember one of my first thoughts thinking was, I don't know how to be a pastor's wife. I'm not one of those perfect ladies that can dress the part and be the part. I don't want anybody knowing what I've done. I can't, there's no way God could use someone like me. And it took me a long time, and it took me just great people to speak into and help me believe that I was who God created me to be. And not perfect by a long shot, but with the grace that God has given me, I can also bestow that on other people, and I can just love them despite whatever they've been through. And so, if you're struggling with, well, I'm not good enough, I can't, I'm struggling here, I'm doubting, or whatever the case may be, God really just let Him use you. Let Him use you, and you just don't know what that next step is going to bring. You just take it. And as much as you can, don't question it, because I did a lot of that. And questioning is good, But at the same time, you don't want it to hold you back, because then you're really being held back from the blessings and the things that God wants to move, in your life. And so I would definitely tell people now is don't be afraid. Fear is just something from the enemy. And even in these crazy times, just really think about what you're grateful for, what the things that God has given you, not so much what you don't have. Having a grateful heart, I think, really changes the way you think about things and how you see the Lord. So this too shall pass, it's a difficult time, but just trust and hang in there.
I'd say be yourself. Just be yourself. We talked about that a lot, but be yourself. Think about it. You are the only you that is ever going to exist on planet Earth ever, right? Think about how many people God has ever made in the past and ever will make, and you are that only person. You don't need another fill in the blank who it is. God has given you your unique gifts, abilities, talents, and all that stuff. You are a fine package that you can be used. And sadly, some of us, or not some of us, all of us have these gifts that God has given us, but we've been put on the shelf back there. We're leaving ourselves on the shelf and we're not using it. It looks great back there, but what's the use if this thing is sitting there? It needs to be used. So I would say, open up your stuff. It may look nasty and dirty. You don't have any instructions, right? About where do I go first? What's the first step? And just go out there and it's all in the box. You get those meals that have everything already included. Nice. You may not have instructions, but you look at it and say, well, I got to make something. And God didn't leave an ingredient out or anything. He's got it all in the box. So use your box is what I'm going to say.
Did y'all keep those letters y'all wrote back and forth to each other when you were dating?
Yeah, we do have some.
I think so. Actually, when we were so bored one day that we were going through old pictures, and Cassandra pulled one out, our oldest daughter, and she's like, is this your handwriting, Mom? Or is this Dad's handwriting? And I told her, I don't know. And I'm like, why are you going through my stuff? That's my personal property. And she's like, but it's so pretty. And it was actually a poem that he had written. And he sent through one of our friends. So we still have some of those.
Say to somebody who's just thinking of joining TBS and maybe taking a class or getting to a degree program, how would you encourage them? What would you tell them?
No. Don't think about it. Just do it. Remember, we said, just don't think, just keep going. Follow the next step. And really, don't look any further. This is the place where you need to be. This is a true community. If that's what you're really wanting and you want to grow in the Lord, you want to do it with the right people. And that's what you have here at TBS. So don't look any further.
Look at that. We said that without even getting paid anything. That's awesome.
Although I will say, if somebody wants to talk about it and take me out to lunch when things reopen, I will gladly
Grubhub
go
right now.
out.
That's the way to go right now.
And tell you all about it.
How can those watching and those listening today, how can they continue to pray for you and your family, and then also your church?
I think just pray for, you were saying this every day, like the uncharted waters that we're going through. This is new. And people have been doing online church, but now we're doing it like full time for everybody. So I'd be selfish for me to say just pray for me, but I think pray for all the leaders everywhere, because I talked to different pastors. I was on a call yesterday, and just the frustration with simple things. Children's ministry, what's going to happen when we return, and there's just so many things that we have to think about. So I would say for congregants out there, your pastor, pray for them, because you don't think, you would think during this time we're not doing much. But let me tell you, I think I'm working more that the church is closed, the building, than it was if it was actually open. And, you have long nights and you hardly sleep. So pray for your spiritual leader, and pray for their spouse too, because
if he doesn't sleep, I don't sleep.
Pretty much.
And then I guess on a personal level, we have a senior who was supposed to graduate and have prom, and that's just been really difficult, and just kind of watching her struggle through that. And it's heartbreaking, because as a mom, I want to see my next little girl go and have her prom and her graduation, and we don't get that. So we're trying to think of creative ways. This has affected people in different ways that you don't know about. So just be mindful of that. Be mindful of just how people are just going through things, and how can we just pray for one another.
Well, y'all are just such a sweet, beautiful couple, and we thank you for sharing your laughter and your wisdom with us today, because I'm walking away with quite a few nuggets. Be yourself, use your box, and read the old letters.
Thanks for listening. Stay connected with us at thebibleseminary.org and subscribe to this podcast.